As always, thank you, Sandy, for the wonderful music you select and provide for us. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Door County. And let us take a moment to extend our gratitude to all the mothers and mother figures, the grandmothers, aunts, sisters, and extended family members who have mothered us, the soon-to-be mothers, the wish they were mothers, the never wanted to be mothers, the it's complicated mothers, birth mothers, foster mothers, adoptive mothers, stepmothers, the used to be dad mothers, and more than one mothers, the single mothers, the separated mothers, stay-at-home mothers, unhoused mothers, those who have had to be both mother and father, the grieving mothers, those who grieve their mothers, and those whose grief is complex. For all the communities that mother to mothers of fur babies, and for all who depend on the Great Mother, you are held and beloved. We gather to worship, our hearts alive with hope that here we will be truly seen, that here we will be welcomed into the garden of this community, where the simple and the elegant, the fluted and frilled, the shy and dramatic complement one another and are treasured. May we know that here, each contributes in their own way to the beauty of the whole. Come, let us worship. All genders, sexualities, politics, clappers and non-clappers, progressive or conservative, may we root ourselves in the value of this faith, compassion and courage, transcendence, justice, and transformation. Once upon a time, chemists believed they could transform lead into gold or death into life. We laugh, but are we not also in the business of alchemy? Turning loneliness into connection, pain into comfort, anger into solidarity, faith into action. The subtle magic of church combines love with justice, creates hope out of fear, transforms individuals into community. Here we engage in a holy alchemy, finding beauty in the ordinary and life in the present. Come, let us be transformed together. I'm Donna Johnson, your service leader this morning. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones or any other noise-making device, and if possible, put your phones on airplane mode so that it doesn't disrupt the broadcast of this morning. On behalf of this fellowship, I extend a special welcome to any visitors who may be with us today, and it is our custom here at UUFDC to ask any visitors to introduce themselves. Or, so if you are here for the first time, or maybe have been here before but haven't been here for a while, please feel free to stand and introduce yourselves. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and maybe a little about what brought you here today. Any visitors willing to introduce themselves?
I'm not alone. I'm Pam Jalaka. Grew up coming here my whole life and just came back for Mother's Day weekend. I've always been interested in the Unitarian Universalist services and been trying it out for the first time.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm Laura Roche, Pam's sister, and I'm from Glenview, Illinois, and
Okay.
I just wanted to say, it's so nice to be back with you. We go down south with the grandchildren for half a year, and we got back a week ago. We were here last Sunday, and somebody said, "Why didn't you speak up?" I never tell you what a joy it is to be back in this congregation and to be with you all again. We treasure you.
Welcome back. At this time, I direct you to the announcements on the back of your order of service. And if there are any additional announcements that pertain to the fellowship, please share those now. Please wait for Jim to bring the microphone to you so that everyone can hear you, including those who are listening in. And please identify yourself when making the announcement.
Good morning, I'm Cindy Steele, and I wanted to give you a quick update about the care coordinator position. As of yet, we've had no applications, so please repost it on Facebook, talk to everybody you know that this position is available, and the fact is, we're good people to work for. So I think this could be a position that the holder of it would have a really enjoyable time. I really think so. So please help us find someone. Thank you.
Good morning, Nora Flood. If you haven't already filled out the survey about whether or not you can hear services, whether you can hear presentations when we have speakers, please let us know, because we'll have surveys in the back after the service, or you can do it online. Sarah put a link into the weekly message. So let us know, because we're very interested as a board. Thank you.
Good morning, Cindy Nelson. First things, all of those who participated in bingo and who remembered to bring your sheets, yes, sorry if they're still on your refrigerator, you lose. Okay, so the winner of a Sweetie Pies gift certificate is Carol Soper. Congratulations. And one other announcement, just a reminder, it is on the back of the order of service, but on Tuesday afternoon is the Alzheimer's presentation, 1 o'clock here. It is open to the public, so please bring your neighbors. That may not happen to be you, but we have contacted all the other parishes, and they are also announcing it in their bulletins. But 1 o'clock Tuesday afternoon, the Alzheimer's Association will be here to give us some needed input. Thank you.
Bruce Nelson, and this is on the announcement on the back sheet, but just to remind you, Thursday is our day to clean up our section of the highway north of Allison Bay in the Adopt a Highway program. Sign up sheet is in the lobby, and let me know if you can help us on Thursday.
Thank you, everyone.
One more, sorry. For more than 15 years, Jim Black, yeah, thank you. For more than 15 years, Carol Soper has been the music coordinator here at the fellowship. Carol has chosen hymns for the service which mesh with the day's speaker's message, which has taken a lot of effort, and I know as a service leader, she has taken that very, very seriously and anguished over what hymns would work well. And during her tenure as music coordinator, Carol has brought many, many beautiful musicians to the fellowship. So she is going to be retiring, and she's felt that her music coordination was her ministry here, and she understands that music is the universal language. So we thank Carol for her years of service. Thank you very much for those 15 years. And with much excitement, Sandy Bader is taking over the position. And as I understand it, Sandy comes from a family of musicians, and she's got a community, and so I'm sure she'll be bringing a lot of stuff here, so it's great. So thank you. And Carol and Sandy will be working together in the transition, and so we're very grateful to Carol and very excited about Sandy. So thank you.
Thank you.
We kindle this flame with love for mothers and foremothers, past, present, and future. We kindle this flame in celebration of community and its generations. We kindle this flame with respect and support for the greater circle of life of which we all are a part. Please stand in body or spirit and join together to sing hymn number 1026 in the teal hymnal, If Every Woman in the World, and please remain standing afterwards for the unison affirmation and the singing of the doxology, both of which are in the order of service. If every woman in the world had her mind set on freedom, if every woman in the world dreamed a sweet dream of peace, if every woman of every nation, young and old, each generation, held her hand out in the same of love, there will be no more war. If every man in the world had his mind set on freedom, if every brother stood with a brother as a witness for peace, if every man of every nation, young and old, each generation, held his hands out in the name of love, there would be no more war. If every leader in the world shared a vision of freedom, if every leader in the world shared a sweet dream of peace, if every leader of every nation worked for justice and liberty, held in the name of love, there would be no more war. If every nation in the world set a true course for freedom, if every nation raised its children in a culture of peace, if all sons and all our daughters reached out and ship across the borders, retreating to the enemies, there would be no more war. We gather together to seek knowledge and wisdom, to explore freely the vast reaches of mind and spirit, to celebrate within a caring community those truths, ancient and modern, which give meaning and direction to our lives. From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung, in every land, by every tongue. At this time, you are invited to share any joys you may have so that we may celebrate with you. Or if you have concerns that burden you, please feel free to share so that we can offer solace and comfort. Please identify yourself when you share, and please wait for the microphone to be brought to you. But keep in mind that the service is being broadcast and will be on the internet, so please do not share any information about someone unless you have their permission to do so. Any joys, concerns?
Good morning, Jan Freistack here, and Phil and I are very proud and thrilled to announce that 2 of our grandchildren are graduating high school next weekend. So we're going down to Chicago for Lily from Hoffman Estates High School and Sean from Maine South High School.
So I have a joy and a concern. Yesterday, I had the privilege of hearing the Peninsula Singers in Sturgeon Bay at the Methodist Church, and I was just literally blown away. I just thought it was one of the best concerts I've been to in a long time. What it dealt with is giving us encouragement and hope during this political time that we're in. And they sang songs like Hope Lingers On, God Help the Outcasts, another song called Hope, another song that was about time, come in from the firefly darkness. And it just went on, and it just was so uplifting. And so my concern is more people need to go to this concert. And so it's today at 3 o'clock at the Baptist Church in Sister Bay. It's great.
Hi, everybody. David Sherman. I have a joy to share. I just got done spending the week substitute teaching at Gibraltar K-12. Yeah, and I had to get up every day, like at 6 a.m. And it was something I've been spending the last, 30 years trying to avoid. And I was working with the special ed kids and also with the 5th graders. And I just have to say, we in this community are raising some beautiful human beings, and the teachers who work there and the community surrounding that place is just uplifting, and it actually gives me hope. It was really great, and just want to say how glad I am to be part of that community. So,
Hi, Cindy Steele, and I just want to shout out the efforts of the Nelsons and the Wises for UU Jeopardy on Thursday. It was an absolute blast. I can't remember a time when I laughed more. Thank you for all your efforts. Are Jane and Carl here? But thank you, Jane and Carl, if you're watching.
Yeah, it was a great time and a lot of laughter. Yeah.
This is a joy from Jerry Friedberg, who left a message on the answering machine here. She says she is home safely, would like hello phone calls, wishing all a happy Mother's Day, and sends her love.
As a former teacher, I remember a key phrase in my studies, and that was repetition is the mother of all learning. So I'm going to kind of repeat something that's already been said, and I thought about, I don't need to, but I think it's worth calling out. So I have a joy and a sorrow, and I'm going to start with my sorrow. I kind of had this all scripted in my head, and that is feeling sorry for all of those who missed Thursday night. And I've always said, I've been to many social gatherings, and you leave and you say, oh, that was fine, it was a nice time, I really enjoyed talking to so-and-so. But when you viscerally laugh, and I actually went home and Googled, what does laughter do for your health? And it elevates, it of course releases all kinds of wonderful endorphins. It increases your oxygen uptake, it positively impacts your liver, your kidneys, your heart. It goes on and on and on. And so, Cindy Steele at one point was on the floor. And so total big hats off to Jane and Cindy and Carl and Bruce for what they put together. It was just a blast, and thank you very much.
Okay. Well, things are a little more sober now. It's time for the offering. We will now collect the offering. If you prefer, you can make a donation online from our website, uufdc.org. You will find the donate button on the far right of the homepage, and it is an easy and safe, secure way to make a donation. Please give generously to support the work of this congregation. And a note to visitors, we consider your presence with us today a gift to the fellowship. As noted in the order of service, Mark and Christina Richards moved to Door County in 2016. And with Christina's constant support, Mark expanded his role from hospice chaplain to include social justice work as the leader of WUSON, the Wisconsin State Action Network. Mark was ordained in 2018 by the First Parish in Concord, Massachusetts, and we are delighted that he occasionally shares his wisdom and insights with us from the podium and in workshops. Please join in a minute of quiet. We must learn to reawaken and keep ourselves awake, not by mechanical aids, but by an infinite expectation of the dawn, which does not forsake us even in our soundest sleep. I know of no more encouraging fact than the unquestionable ability of man to elevate his life by a conscious endeavor. It is something to be able to paint a particular picture or to carve a statue, and so make a few objects beautiful. But it is far more glorious to carve and paint the very atmosphere and medium through which we look, which morally we can do. To affect the quality of the day is the highest of arts. And this was from Henry David Thoreau in Walden, or A Life in the Woods.
Good morning. Happy Mother's Day to all of those out there who are or have mothers. I think it's particularly appropriate to have to talk about building community on Mother's Day, because without mothers, we wouldn't have much community. And in my experience, hanging out with men all the time, without wives, there would be no society. Because human beings are built for community, not by preference, not by habit, not by design. We live, we work, we dream, we struggle together, and when that connection is missing, something essential in us begins to wither. In hospice, I've seen the heartbreak of a person who reaches the end of life believing that they are alone. It is a reminder that community is not a luxury. Community is a lifeline. So today I want to look at how community takes shape, how it grows from shared needs, how it forms the identities we carry into the world, and how common aspirations can form a future that would not otherwise have been possible. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a history lesson, so sit back, but don't close your eyes. The earliest humans lived in small mobile bands, 20 to 30 people, bound by kinship, shared labor, and constant cooperation. Community was not an idea, it was survival. Food gathering and child rearing and protection were collective responsibilities. Over time, groups have stabilized into tribes that had shared rituals and stories and identities. Leadership was situational rather than hierarchical. Community cohesion came from shared cosmology and mutual obligation. And then about 10,000 years ago, agriculture transformed human life. Once people could grow food and stay in one place, villages were formed. Surplus food allowed for specialization. There were farmers, of course, but there were also potters and builders and priests. And with specialization came inequality, but also art and architecture and more complex social bonds. Artists and artisans produced more goods than could be consumed by the local community, and so they sought larger populations to sell their wares. Market towns rose up. And with the exchange of goods came the exchange of ideas. Wealth began accumulating in these market towns, and the specter of violent acquisition of that wealth arose, demanding the need for collective protection. By 3000 BCE, cities emerged in Mesopotamia and in the Indus Valley and along the Nile River. Probably in Asia too, but this is kind of Western-centric here. These were dense, diverse communities with markets, temples, bureaucracies, early governments. Writing developed so we could manage trade and administration of the communities, and also to preserve shared memory and identity. Communities were no longer just local, they became part of vast political systems. Societies expanded. New forms of community emerged that were not tied to geography. Communities formed around religious traditions and philosophy schools and craft guilds and professional societies, arts and literature circles. These communities created shared identities that stretched across regions and generations. And it fell upon religious institutions to preserve the stories that define a community's history and morality. Without stories as a binding agent, civilizations are susceptible to be erased by conquest. In the early days of great civilizations, it was common to force the assimilation of a conquered people by destroying their temple. All you had to do was take their city, destroy their temple, and they were yours. That pattern was broken by the Jews because they wrote their stories in a book. When they were exiled from Israel, they kept their faith in the diaspora. It was a successful model, and it was copied by the Christians and then the Muslims. Books allowed them to maintain a faith community within the context of a larger, perhaps more hostile community. The story of Europe's recovery from the fall of Western Rome offers a fairly good example of the preservation of our stories, reinvents the concepts of community. So after Western Rome fell, Europe was fragmented. Rural feudal territories, small fiefdoms or kingdoms. In this landscape, monasteries became the only stable, literate, economically active institutions. They preserved knowledge, they developed advanced agricultural techniques, offered hospitality, markets, and protection. These services attracted artisans and peasants and traders, and eventually towns grew around these monastic centers. As Europe became more stabilized, bishops and cathedral chapters became major urban developers. A cathedral was not just a church. It was a massive construction project employing hundreds, sometimes over centuries. It was a magnet for pilgrims, a center for education, law, and administration, and a marketplace for goods and services. Ernesto Ciroli writes, "The future of every community lies in capturing the passion, imagination, and resources of its people." So the churches collected tithes, conducted controlled trade fairs. The medieval church helped urban growth by standardizing weights and measures and contracts, even providing credit through monastic and episcopal treasuries and linking the northern markets of Europe with the Mediterranean markets. Urban life required a predictable form of government. The church provided canon law courts and diplomatic networks and the moral authority to negotiate peace between feuding nobles. And that stability allowed towns to flourish as semi-autonomous communes. That stability allowed right? I said that. Urban merchants relied on church-backed legal frameworks to operate across regions. In addition to cathedrals, churches founded Europe's first universities in Paris, in Bologna, and Oxford. These institutions drew students and teachers and book traders, which in turn stimulated housing and food markets and crafts. A new urban professional class arose. A class of clerics and lawyers and scholars. Cities with universities became cultural and economic hubs. And finally, some cities became major pilgrimage destinations. Rome and Santiago de Compostela, Cologne, required a network of roads and bridges and inns and markets and hospitals. Pilgrimage was a spiritual act, but it was also functional as a continental transportation and economic system. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s famous quote, "Our goal is to create a beloved community, and this will require a qualitative change in our souls as well as a quantitative change in our lives." But the European model relies on a hierarchy of dominance to survive. And this does not always transfer well into other world communities. Consider how racism rose up. Communities of black people had to form to protect themselves from a dominant white culture. Every city that you visit in America has a Chinatown. Why is that? Yielding to a dominant leader or sect requires submission to conformity of behavior and belief. A dominating spirit will extract value from the earth and from its people for its own profit and aggrandizement. Many indigenous peoples live in community with the forests and the lands on which they inhabit and which they occupy, working for harmony within the entire system. And then comes industrialization. That was the next transformation of our communities. Industrialization, mass production brought mass migration into the cities. New forms of community arose, neighborhoods, unions, civic organizations, political movements, all of those ways that we connect within an urban environment. Nation states promoted a new kind of imagined community. Millions of people connected by shared institutions, shared stories. As industrialization pulled millions into dense urban centers and rewove the fabric of daily life, it also stirred a deep cultural longing for freedom. The crowded tenements, the regimentation of factory time, and the rise of impersonal institutions made many Europeans and Americans dream of the wide horizons and self-determined lives. And just as new forms of community were taking shape in the cities, another story was taking hold. A story that promised escape from the very pressures of modern life was creating. And that story lived on the edges of our maps, in the vast North American continent that was newly opened to European settlement. Where the imagination could run toward wilderness, solitude, and the possibility of becoming someone entirely new. The opening of the American continent to Europeans gave hope to many who felt trapped on the small continent of Europe. It offered dreams of owning land, of building empires, of living free of community constraints. Myths like those of the mountain men fed their fantasies. Jim Bridger and Jeremiah Smith and Kit Carson, they were noted names. So many more made their living hunting and trapping by themselves all winter long. Their legends helped create the myth of the American self-made man. The myth. The dream of individual freedom was then marketed to the world as the American dream. Ralph Waldo Emerson writes, it is only as a man puts off all foreign support and stands alone that I see him to be strong and to prevail. That was from his essay on self-reliance. Emerson's vision of self-reliance became a model for the successful American, and the fact that so many set up their own businesses and farms and factories became our calling card. Freedom of mind generated waves of innovation in our open market system, continued to generate new wealth. Margaret Wheatley writes, there is no power for change greater than a community discovering what it cares about. The world began to shrink as new forms of transportation and communication arose. Telegraph and telephone service made communication almost instantaneous. And manifest destiny became the spiritual call of the new nation. In our spirits, we found what Thoreau calls an infinite expectation of a new dawn. As technology improved, new applications were found. There were always hope for a better future. New communities developed around these new technologies, first among the scientists who invented them, amongst the engineers who applied them, among the entrepreneurs who brought them to market. National expositions were put on to introduce the general public to the wonders of human creation. Hope was garnered from imaginations of people applied that people applied to science. At the same time, around the turn of the 20th century, another kind of community began to gain prominence. Those who were frightened by the new science and the new technology, those who were afraid of change, saw it as an affront to God's will. Christian fundamentalism arose in the early 20th century to affirm the inerrancy of the Bible read literally and the belief in current-day miracles. Christian fundamentalists sought to dominate American society with one worldview. And towards that end, they have been beating that drum for over 100 years. Now we come to the late 20th, early 21st century, and communication technologies are reshaping our communities once again. We form more informal connections across continents around shared interests, activism, identity, and culture. Helen Fisher writes, "We still have community, but we don't seem to have local community. Even in a small town where you know your neighbors and your mother's down the street, you're not in arm's length." Ideas spread globally in an instant. These communities can offer a powerful sense of belonging, though they also raise questions about fragmentation, misinformation, and the meaning of connection. Fragmentation results from participating in communities that never share physical space. We can feel like we belong without having to leave our homes. How many have ever attended a Zoom meeting? We can feel like we belong without having to leave our homes. The anonymity provided by online communities also limits our vulnerability. Something about being vulnerable to another person that builds a deeper and stronger relationship. We can manage an online presence or even manipulate what other people think of us. Belonging begins to feel more performative than authentic. Anonymity then leads to the spread of misinformation. We become entrenched in our own understanding of truth because we never hear counter-arguments. Anonymity also opens opportunities for aggressive behavior, like making threats. Connection becomes less trustworthy. Community loses its fabric in the specter of fear, and we find ourselves shrinking into smaller communities of identity, fearful of our eventual disappearance. A quote that came online was, "Community is not just about being together. It is about doing life together." But people of faith from all sources are inherently people of hope, I say, looking forward to an existence more noble. As the threads of community become unraveled, we're called to put a new weft on the loom and begin a new design. A design centered more on love, less on fear. Our UU principles guide us in designing this new love-centered community, a community where we acknowledge each member as a unique expression of the universal spirit, where all benefit from the full expression of each spirit. Justice and equity Through justice and equity, we aspire to diverse multicultural communities where we recognize every individual as inherently worthy, with the right to flourish in dignity and compassion and love. Through interdependence and pluralism, we live into the interdependent web of existence and honor the sacredness of each being's culture, experience, and beliefs. Through generosity and transformation, we aspire to change the world with a spirit of gratitude and hope. When I talk of love-centered community, I mean a community which allows people to come together freely, each expressing their own spirit with equal opportunity to thrive or fail. A community where failure is a chance to learn and success is a chance to serve. I believe that humanity's purpose is to continue to acquire new knowledge, to make that knowledge available to each member of the human community, to move forward in our understanding of human purpose, and to allow our collective spirit to flourish in ways we have yet to imagine. We can achieve such flourishing only by love, only by continuously reaching out for connection with one another. It is the message found in the teachings of every great spiritual teacher our world has ever known. It is the vision we seek when we live in the infinite expectation of dawn. So be it. Amen. I think our next hymn is number 1028.
Yes.
The Fire of Commitment. I didn't bring my book.
Yearns up weak and bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith and free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and clear, calling pilgrims still to witness in the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when the hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. was going to say, you guys sounded great. I hope you will join us in the gathering room across the lobby for coffee, tea, refreshments, and fellowship following the service. And after about 15 minutes, so approximately 11:15, 11:15, we'll meet back in here for a talk back with Mark, and hope you can join us. We close today with words by Maureen Killeran. No matter how weak or how frightened we may feel, we each have gifts that can make a difference in the world. In this coming week, may you do at least one thing to support the broken, to welcome the stranger, to celebrate what is worthy, to do the work of justice and love. Be strong, be connected. Each day, act so you may be a little more whole. And as we prepare to depart, we give voice to these hopes. May we know ourselves bound in community even while we are apart. May a passion for justice burn in our lives. May we carry the light of compassion in our hearts and in our every interaction. May we be whole in our devotion to truth and always carry the lamp of peace before us. May it be so.